School of Real Estate Champions. I'm Rita Santa Maria. I'm the owner, founder of Champions School of Real Estate, and it is my pleasure today to have two wonderful champion brokers with me. And you're going to absolutely learn so much today from these two broker owners. But first of all, I want to give a shout out to all of our campuses and say thank you for your business. Most definitely the Plano campus, Fort Worth, Austin, at our new campus in Austin, San Antonio, Houston West, Houston Galleria, Houston 1960, and any of our wonderful customers that also are the online customers that knew about our program today, because I was telling these gentlemen we had over 340 some from the outside that came in on our link today, plus we have all of our classrooms joining us. So we have a great audience here. And these two gentlemen are going to tell you so much about how to be more successful in real estate, their story, and what allowed them to grow to be creme de la creme, top of the real estate chart, and always proud to call them champions. So let me introduce you to, first of all, we have Larry Brooks. And Larry Brooks is broker, founder of Brooks & Davis real estate firm. And I've known Larry for many years. I run into him at many functions, and this gentleman always shows professionalism and also demonstrates networking skills all day long. And I'm thrilled to have you here.
Thank you, thank you.
And he hails from the Houston region. And then we have Robert Mesh. And Robert is broker owner of Small World Realty in the DFW area. And not only do I know Robert as a broker owner of a very successful real estate company, but also he's one of our illustrious instructors in the Dallas, particularly the Plano campus,
Yes.
more so than Fort Worth, and teaches our prep class and does a super job. So thank you, Robert, for being here from the north part of the
thank
state.
you for having me.
So these two have so much in common. I told them this morning when they met each other for the first time. First of all, they have so much in common that on our flyer, they both had on black suits and a red tie, which I thought was such a funny coincidence, considering there are many coincidences with these two. They've been in business for about the same number of years, around 18 years, and they both are into podcasting, radio show announcers, interviewers. And I said to them, well, I hope I get a word in edgewise today.
We'll try. Yeah.
And as we go through our 50 minutes today, I think you'll see all of the similarities. So get out your iPad, your pen, paper, notebook, whatever it is you like to take notes on, because you're going to get some really great information from these two veterans in the business. Very sharp gentlemen. So I'm going to start out with just the first question being, when you decided to go into real estate, was there a defining moment that made you decide to do it? How did you decide to do what our students are doing right now and be in the classroom? What gave you that courage? And I'll start with Larry.
Well, I was lucky. I had a friend of mine whose family was in real estate, and so I was exposed from the industry as seeing him be successful. He ended up leaving school about 2 years earlier than I did, and he was doing very well at 22 years old. And so I'm like, okay, well,
at 22.
At 22.
That's remarkable.
And so I was like, I want to do real estate. And so after I finished at Stephen F. Austin, I went to Stephen F. Austin University. So immediately after finishing at Stephen F. Austin, I came to Champions and took my classes. And I actually sat in the classroom and I went through the weekend. So I was here. I was on the North Side campus.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so after getting my license, I've been in the industry 18 years, my very first career.
I love it. Your first career.
Very first career.
And for those of you that are fairly young, I love it when we're able to have our wonderful interviewers say, well, I was in my 20s, or like Adam Olson that was here a few months ago that came straight out of high school to go into real estate. So yes, it's all about you and how successful you want to be.
That's right.
What about you, Robert? What made you decide?
I like it because ours is, we are a little different in that standpoint because I was politely forced into it. I was working with the executive crews at Foot Locker, Foot Action USA, and Just for Feet, and the Just for Feet folks started to have some troubles, and they eventually went out of business, and they kind of politely put me into real estate. So, and you know, I say that very positively because it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, so many people, when they go through a job loss at times, they think it's the worst thing. For me, and being the greatest thing ever happened in my entire life. So, and I learned to love real estate once I got into it. So for me, it was a little different pattern, but I wish I had done it the way you did it. That's the way I tell everybody. I mean, the lesson is I wish I could have gone back and started as early as possible. I really do.
I agree.
We hear that all the time. I only wish I had done it sooner.
I do.
So from the get-go, did both of you want to open your own companies from the beginning, or was there a moment where you said, gosh, I think I'd like to just strike out on my own and develop my company the way I want to develop? How did you move into that, Robert?
Well, I was very thankful. I spent 7 years at Keller Williams, and I was always very thankful for their leadership there. I just like you said, I eventually got to the point where I'm like, I pretty much can do this on my own. I knew what I was doing, and I had a lot of experience already with a lot of deals that had gone through. So for me, it just made sense to do it. You know, and I'm like that with all my agents as well, that at some point they're going to blossom and they have to move on. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with growing. Yeah, I think if they're going to be a really powerful or really good in the real estate industry, they eventually have to have some aspiration to possibly move on their own. So for me, it was just like that.
Great attitude.
Yeah.
Good.
Because it's the ultimate compliment when you've successfully trained an agent and they go out and do it themselves.
You know, it's funny. I have 4 of my previous agents that have their own operating firms, and I'm always extremely proud of them. I know some of them are probably watching too, and you're right. I take more pride in the fact that those guys are out there operating than anything. So that's absolutely correct. Yeah.
And in my case, just getting. I forgot the question. I was so excited about the.
You know how many times I did that on my show?
Yeah, because of the growth and the transparency of your agents.
Now you know why I put my agents on my show. I'm like, hey man, what was I saying over there?
As he said, what was the question?
I do it all the time. I love it.
It was what made you decide to open your own brokerage?
I've always known that I was going to do that. So from the time that I got into real estate, I always knew that I wanted to put on a suit. This was my vision, was to be able to put on a suit and say that I'm a boss, so that I am responsible for people. And so when I got into the industry, that was just my entire focus. Now, I ended up getting into the industry. At that time, there were two 100% firms. It was the Michaels Group, and there was Leger Properties. And I went with Leger Properties. And Leger Properties was such a family fit. When I started with them, it was only 25 agents, so we were very, we communicated a lot. And so I learned the business very well from them, and they taught me how to just really go out and do it myself. And so I just took all of the leadership skills that they gave me, and we stayed friends and they just taught me the business.
You know, what I love hearing from both of you is you've talked so positively about the companies that you started with, and you give them credit for that.
Yes.
So thinking back as a new agent, what were the basic steps that you took to get yourself into the business and make money? And the same token, it's probably the same thing you're telling your agents today. What are those major activities that you recommend a new person do?
Well, mine were always simple. I've always been big on networking and volunteering. Those two things to me together. And there's so many lead generation techniques out there, and they're all good, you know. But for me, I'm still a little old school that way from the personal networking. I preach to my guys all the time. I go, you've got to go be a part of something in there, whether it's a professional, whether it's just personal. I think some of the best networking that you can do are some of the things you like doing most.
Yeah.
whether it's like playing golf, whether it's, whatever you like to do. I think that some of the greatest clients I've ever had have come from those types of agreements. So I think a mixture of all those things together. I did a lot of that when I first started.
It's interesting that we use the word networking and assume everybody really knows what networking means.
Yeah.
But in the last interview that I had, there was on the chat screen a question that said, how do I network? What is networking? So we'll maybe circle back around to that.
Sure.
But what do you suggest people do new into the business, and what did you do, Larry?
Get active immediately. I did a lot of networking as well, and so I networked 7 days a week, and yes, I'm including church. I did.
I think that's great.
I did, yeah, because at church, because my friends, your circle of influence, people that you come in contact with your entire life up until that point.
They trust you already.
Yes, so I need you to know what it is. I was not a secret agent, right? I let everyone know I'm doing real estate. I'm doing it full time. Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate? And literally, one of the things that I tell my agents the very first time I sit down with them and we're getting ready to do our first coaching session, here's a message. I need you to say, hey guys, I just started a new career in real estate. I'm with an awesome team. Who you know that's looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate? And I need you to say that to everyone that's in your phone, everyone that's on your social media, everyone at the gas station. Because I even asked them to say, let's change up your routine. Instead of paying at the pump, go inside. Maybe meet the person that's standing in front of the line in front of you. Start building up your network. This is going to be a part of your business now and in the future.
Good point.
Yeah.
Now, what if you said that to me as a new agent, and I said, oh, Larry, that scares me. How do I do that? How do I say that to my friends? What would be your comeback?
My comeback is that your friends want you to be successful. They want to help you. They just don't know how. So you have got to ask them so that they know how, right? Because the last thing you want to see is you want to go through your social media timeline and one of your friends is posting that they just purchased a home and you didn't let them know that you were in the business.
What about me?
Yes. And so you have to just feel comfortable with it. Believe me, everyone wants to help you. They just need to know that you want to help.
I guess the takeaway from that is you need to ask for the help. Mm-hmm. So that they know, oh, well, if I can help you, what would I be helping you do?
Right.
And then you would say, well, do you know anybody that wants to buy?
Yeah.
Do you know anybody that needs to sell their house or invest in property?
It's amazing, Rita, because I've been in the industry as long as I have, and I do this on a yearly basis. I'll send out this exact message to everyone that's in my phone, and I still get a ton of leads as though they didn't even know I
do the
was
same
busy.
thing.
So,
same thing.
Yeah.
Nothing changes.
So can you explain to our neophytes, when we talk about networking, just give them sort of a visual of what it's like to walk into a group and network?
Well, I mean, you're always going to perfect what most people call their elevator speech. You got about 2 or 3 minutes where you want to talk to someone. You want to be able to give them what it is that you do in that amount of time. Which surprisingly I am able to do, as long-winded as I can be. When I meet someone, I'm very quick to tell them what our niche is, what we do, what we're looking for. And way back when I didn't have all the, the brokerage and everything, I always focused on the business I did. Now there's so many other things to discuss, so it can be difficult to get all that stuff in there. But really, working the room to where you're getting your stuff out in less than 2 or 3 minutes, and then maybe longer conversations with people who show more interest than some of the others.
I think most important, showing up. Show up somewhere. What were you going to say, Larry?
No, and I totally agree. And one of the things that I see, so I am a networker I'm a volume networker. So I'm working the entire room trying to get cards and give cards out. My fortune is going to be in my follow-up. So I'll follow up with you later to find out the areas that we can do heavy business, but when I'm in the networking event, I'm trying to shake as many hands as I can and meet as many people as I can as well as I go through the process. And it's not, honestly, just keep in mind, you're in real estate. And so you're always going to be the subject of conversation. Everyone wants to always talk to a realtor.
That's right.
So they want to know what's going on in the market.
That's right.
You're always going to be the subject. So you don't ever have to hesitate on if you're going to be welcomed. You're going to say you're in real estate, and be like, oh, hey, well,
Everybody's always interested.
Always.
They are. No matter who they are.
Popular person. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important that when you're out there, you try to differentiate yourself from everybody else. There's so many of the same people in those groups, which I've always told my guys, I'm like, that shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to be different, that's what should make someone want to go with you. So I actually always encourage the fact that there's other people there. That doesn't bother me.
And I'll give you one trick. One trick if you're scared of people actually approaching people, take your name tag, turn it upside down, and people are going to approach you. And then from that point, you can start the
Good one. I
conversation.
love
That's
it.
just a trick of
He's
the trade.
so right. At our Austin open house, a broker came in, his name tag was upside down, and I fell for it. I walked over and said, "Oh, let me fix your name tag." And he goes, "Got ya."
That's great. I love it. Awesome. Good tip.
So they'll help break your shyness.
Yeah. So Robert hit on something that both of you do. It's another thing that you have in common, and that is niche. Let's talk about niche marketing or niche, whatever you want to, however you want to pronounce it. But I love it that both of these gentlemen have a tag that they go by. And for Robert, it's Smoker Broker.
Yes.
And tell us about Smoker Broker and how that tag came
I never
out.
thought it would come out. I think that's how all good tags come across. I actually don't know whether I'm sometimes embarrassed how the tag is or not. So obviously been in real estate for a long time and been a broker for a long time. I got into competitive barbecue smoking probably about, 8 or 9 years ago. And it was very enjoyable. Loved it. I didn't have enough time. And anybody who's ever smoked out there, it's tough because you have a lot of time to do these events. So just didn't have that amount of time. So I enjoyed getting into it, but the name came from, my wife always gets embarrassed if I tell stories like this, but I was playing cards one day, and there was a group that knew me from different, and I sat down. One guy goes, "Oh, you're that guy. You're that guy that smokes." And then the other guy at the end of the table said, "No, I thought you were a broker." And then one of the guys goes, "Hey, Smoker Broker, that sounds good." And I was like, it's stuck ever since. So it's,
and you are branded with Smoker Broker.
I co-brand the living hell out of it. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, it's everywhere on your clothes and your...
And, I never thought that would become a niche to what we do at Small World Realty. In fact, I have to be careful that we always want to. Smoker Broker is a strong co-brand, So Small World Realty is the engine that drives that, but we don't want that to ever overtake it. But we use together.
Easy to remember.
I know, that's why we have it like that. Yeah, I get a lot of comments on the name. So yes, I love it.
So is it on your webpage?
It is. Yeah, it's everywhere. I put Smoker Broker. I mean, it's. Randy always jokes about if I have underwear that has Smoker Broker on it. So I thought about it. I haven't though. I haven't, so.
And then we have the Texas Real Estate King.
Yes.
Right here.
Yes.
So tell us how that came about, Larry.
Well, I come from the hip-hop genre. And so coming from that, everyone always had a tagline. So it may be Jay-Z, he was known as, I can't think of what it is now, but everyone had a tagline after their familiar names. And in real estate, I was just always talking about Texas real estate. Every platform, I went to Stephen F. Austin University. And so a lot of my friends is from the Texas, East Texas, Dallas, Austin area.
Sure.
And as I went back to network, every time they would always say, "Larry, we see you posting pictures from all over Texas." And so, man, you're not just a real estate guy, you Texas real estate king. And one of my buddies said it, and it stuck. And I was like, I like that. I'm Texas real estate king.
I'll take that.
Yes,
I like
and it kind of grew like wildfire. I believe people would, instead of knowing my name, they would say Texas real estate king. Hey, Texas real estate king. So it became just that thing.
Well, I've got a lot of that now, and I'm very always grateful that you let us do some recruiting at the schools. And I, all the time, when I pass someone, they'll be like, "Hey, Smoker Broker." I'm like, that thing works. It actually does. They do pay attention to that. So they never say, "Hey, Small World Realty." So
and we love our sponsors that come in
so
at
gracious
lunch and
that
breakfast. It's good for our students. They get to ask you questions, and it's great for you all.
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, we have our career fair May 31st all around the state. So sign up for that.
Absolutely.
So I love it that you have your tags, and obviously they work.
They do.
And then you each have podcasts.
Yeah.
And I know once a week on Thursdays. Thank you for being here on Thursday today.
it's fine.
Robert has his radio show.
Yeah.
And on Thursday evenings, Larry has his podcast. So how did each of you, or why did each of you decide to do the podcast radio show? And how is that working for you on the marketing side?
It's a continuation of the last one. It's such a co-brand more than anything.
How did it come about?
Well, I had a good friend of mine out there that was doing a radio show. In fact, Tom Holm was one of our instructors who was doing a radio show with a great guy, Blair Thomas, out of Gateway Mortgage. And they asked me on the show, and I had been looking for some type of media avenue that way. And when I went on the show, I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm always very thankful to the guys out at KBGI Radio because it was a perfect setup for us. Because for me, not being one of the largest name brand companies, that was a very good way to solidify my name.
Just added credibility.
Absolutely. A very consistent. We have a lot of clients who watch the show. It gives them a better feel for what it is that we're doing. And it really reinforces that we're out there. And I believe from a marketing standpoint, it's such a staple. We have so many people that comment on the show. It's such an open door for new agents.
What are the comments after the show? Is it about how do I get a real estate license? Is it tell me more about you, Robert? Is it what is the state of real estate today in Texas?
Right. I find they get to know me better, just how I am and how I interact. Anybody who's watched that show, I'm pretty.
Your personality comes up.
I'm very outgoing on it, and I try to address some of the toughest issues. But what we see is a bunch of questions that come in after. Every show we do has a pretty hardcore topic about real estate, something that's important, and they're always going to ask a series of questions. So it really just depends on what topic we're talking about, but we get a ton of them, and we like to respond to them. And for me, what's exciting is that, just like you were talking about, when it's someone from the outside, I love that. I love when someone from his external is watching the show. I'm like, that's great. So for me, it's been, I could not be more pleased with the results that we're getting from that show. I have so many people that I interview with. I do about probably 10 interviews a week, and I would say at least half of them make a comment that they watch me on the radio. And that is very good reinforcement for when I recruit.
Excellent.
Yeah, very good reinforcement for when I recruit.
Absolutely. And your show is how long?
It's an hour. It's an hour straight up, 12 to 1.
And if they wanted to listen to you?
Yeah, it's on KBGI Radio. You can go to their Facebook page and like them. That's the best way. You can actually watch it, and they archive it. So any of the shows we've ever done, you can go back and see those shows. And there's a lot of great information. We have a lot of students that are watching. That's a great place for them to go to really reinforce what they're taught in the classroom as well on the outside. So,
Larry, you've got your podcast. You do it in the evening. Why did you choose evening?
We chose the evening because it gave our guests, because we do guests as well, and so it gave our business professional, our other networking guests an opportunity to take care of their business and then come in the evenings.
Very thoughtful.
So it was just to give them an opportunity just to have some time.
And what has it done for you?
It's amazing. Branding is everything. So in 2018 and 2017, I authored a few books, and I did a lot of public speaking.
And I asked you to bring your two.
They're awesome too.
And so I did a lot of public speaking to entrepreneurs, to realtors, and my agents started to say, well, we talk to you all the time. You need a bigger platform. The world needs to hear from you. And so instead of, blogging has always been a key thing. Well, now they have the term vlogging. And so I would just grab my phone and do a few vlogging throughout the day. They was like, no, you should actually find a radio station that's going to take this, or a platform of a podcast. And so one of my agents came to me. He structured everything, and thank you, Ric D. And so he structured everything, and he put this podcast platform together for us. And now we invite on great friends or people that I've known in the industry for quite some time, or even agents that I'm trying to help them grow their business, and we bring them onto the platform and just talk about skill sets of our industry.
Now, how long have you been doing your podcast?
We've at episode 39. Today will be 40.
We're so close on that too.
So we're at 40. So I want to say maybe a year. I think we're going into getting close to a year.
And you're about
just under that. Yeah, just under that.
Yeah,
I'd say like 25 or so, just like maybe a month or two apart. That's funny.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's visionary.
It is crazy. That is funny.
So Larry said branding. Branding is everything.
It's everything.
And do we absolutely agree at Champion School of Real Estate? Everything is our red, white, and blue colors.
Yeah.
We make sure that our shield is everywhere, our logo is everywhere. And sticking with your branding just is so important.
Yes.
But it's just one little increment of marketing. And I know that we talk about marketing. We have classes in marketing at Champion School of Real Estate. But you two experienced brokers, let us know what you think works best on the marketing side. So to speak, everything an agent needs to do on an ongoing basis to market themselves. What would that be? Do you want to start with that?
I would start with consistency.
Oh, he took it right out of my unbelievable. Look
You
at
have to
this.
be consistent.
Look.
Consistency, that's right. Because that's the one thing that people remember is consistency.
That's the only way I can answer the question.
Yeah, that's the best way that I can answer. You have to be consistent. I'll give you something practical. One of the very first things I did was I took a database of everyone I'd ever met, and I put together, at this time, email was really becoming serious, so I started a newsletter. And so one of the things that I say, the smallest thing you can do is start a newsletter. It doesn't have to, you can have information about real estate, something personal about yourself that may have taken place over that month, and an opportunity for people to reach out to you. So start with a newsletter, but really keep it consistent. Whatever it is you're going to start to do it consistent. If you're going to do social media, do it consistent.
Now, when you say consistent, we've got people wondering, well, what is consistent? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it every other month?
Yeah.
What do you consider consistent?
It depends on the project that you're undertaking. So whatever, like for me, my social media marketing is every day. Every day I have a time schedule that I'm going to be on there posting, reaching out to people, and it's based off of my impressions that I've seen when people are going to open
Are you
my
doing
real
it
estate
yourself,
marketing.
or do you have someone who does it for you?
I do it myself. I do it myself because I don't mind having a personal touch. At one point I did have someone doing it for me, but I chose to get back into it myself, and all it does is add a few extra hours to my working day.
Right, but who knows you better than you?
I agree.
And you wanted to make sure you were hitting the key points that you wanted to bring forward for the day.
And who knows the people that are reaching out to me? So these people that I went to school with, that I've known my entire life, then I can laugh at a joke, or I can throw it a joke that most people may not know, but that person may know. Those type of things when it comes to our conversation as I'm going back and forth.
What is your favorite media for social media? What do you like to use the most, or you're the most consistent with?
I am an Instagram fan right now. I'm an Instagram fan. And the reason being is because you can plug Instagram where it will feed into your Facebook and it'll feed into your Twitter. So you're really touching both of those avenues at the exact same time. So Instagram is visual, and you can also put the videos on there. People enjoy those. I think that the energy that you get from it is a lot more than the other outlets.
And for those of you that are saying, this is such good information, I'm not writing fast enough, this afternoon we should have this interview posted on YouTube. If not this afternoon, certainly by tomorrow morning, and it's also on our Facebook feed for Champion School of Real Estate. So for you, Robert, on the social media, on the marketing side, what works best for you in Small World Realty?
I'm a big Facebook guy, just because Facebook is the largest of those mediums, but his is fantastic. When he was talking, your social media guru, Carla, she's huge on videos. I mean, she's big on videos, really drive the amount of attention. So
and Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
She's excellent. But we do have one for the company, Carla, who does it for all of us.
Yeah.
But we encourage all of our teachers and all of our staff to do it as well.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely. Facebook for me, and like I said, I love Instagram because you're hitting a lot more people than I do. I almost think I went backwards to some extent. I started going back towards Facebook and LinkedIn because I noticed as soon as I started doing the radio show that more people started reaching out on the LinkedIn side. I kind of had thought LinkedIn had kind of disappeared, but it's not true.
What's happened?
I don't know. I don't know.
You know what they've done?
What?
They've incorporated video.
They did. They just put in a LinkedIn now.
To do video, it became more of a bigger platform. I think they saw what
they
Instagram
did.
was doing.
This is recent too. This is
recent.
That's actually a good tip for a lot of people out there right now. LinkedIn has just started incorporating this to where their feeds go through, and they're very selective because they want it business oriented. But I kind of went that route as well, and I love Instagram. I do, and
I do LinkedIn as well.
I think I'm just lazy because it's just a whole nother. I mean, you have to watch all these mediums out there, but I've really focused on Facebook and LinkedIn so I could keep a focus, a concentrated effort. I love all of them, though. I really do.
Well, you know what's fabulous about these two superstars talking about secrets to success, and right away they hit on social media. It's so very inexpensive.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's time. It's just time. So as a new person, when you're thinking, oh, how do I find the money for all of my marketing? Right now, you all really jumped in on time.
Yeah.
Right.
So what other ideas come to mind on the marketing side that a new person would do, should do, needs to do, that doesn't cost them, but is more involved with their time?
I got this thing that I call grassroots marketing, right? It's making sure that you're sending out that text message of, hey, I just got into this industry. Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate? But even more practical than that, get you some business cards or get you a flyer made of what it is that you desire. And you can walk apartment complexes. Literally go door to door. So you're getting two things. You're getting exercise from doing this, and then you have an opportunity potentially to pick up business. Now, if you're smart about it, here's the secret. You put flyers on doors in apartment complexes, then you'll go back and use your Facebook ads and run ads for people that have cell phones in those particular areas. So they're going to start to see you several times, and they're going to take it as a sign that, hey, you know, this is meant to be.
Yeah, good reinforcement to that.
Yeah, good reinforcement to it.
Literally walking the area.
Literally walking it.
Which, by the way, in January, I had Jim McInvale here and was talking with him about how he got started.
Mm-hmm.
And your description is exactly how he got started.
Well, mine is too. And I think that's why I was thinner back then. Because I don't do that as much anymore. So,
But it's so key to what it is that we do, because it's inexpensive and it's something that you
my
can
first
do
listing came that
activity.
way. First listing came that way
Wow.
off of a door hanger.
So what did you do? You walked a
I
neighborhood?
did. I walked a neighborhood, and it's funny. That gentleman eventually became a client of mine years later, and then he eventually became a real estate agent years later. It was like full circle. The very first one I ever did. I tell that story all the time because it's with all the technology that we have today. That might not have been as necessary back then, although I still encourage them to do both. I really do.
That's the most inexpensive way, but like you said, the technology, the way that, so think about forming. We would have to send out 10,000, and I'm not saying that you still don't form,
right?
But I'm saying just the ideal of Facebook, you could spend $25 and touch 25,000 or 2,500 people, whereas we used to form more heavily to reach 1 or 2 people.
Facebook and the internet have become the greatest equalizer amongst the brokerages. I mean, we are all the same when it comes out there. It's whatever our content is that is different, but everybody can hear us if they want to.
And you just need to do it.
That's why anybody out there can do it. It does. You don't have to be, even as a new agent, it doesn't matter. I mean, because you can get out there immediately and make your presence known depending on how much you're.
And you don't have to know everything.
You don't.
We're not asking you. We're saying get active and be consistent.
Yeah.
You do not have to know all of the right questions. That's where the broker comes in.
Absolutely.
I love your saying that because that's the fear factor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if I'm out walking a neighborhood, or if that makes you a little upset at your stomach to think about knocking on doors? Networking that we talked about is the same thing. You've got to be out and about meeting and greeting people.
Yeah.
But there are so many ongoing opportunities to meet, greet people, whether, as you said, you're playing golf, you're going to church, you're walking a neighborhood. But what about open houses? Because open houses right now are popular again because we have apps that tell potential buyers what houses are open for the weekend. Do you encourage your agents to sit on open houses? How do you feel about that?
So I do, but I take this one really personal because, and this from the instructor side as well. I encourage open houses absolutely, as long as you do them for the right reasons and you're doing it the reason you're supposed to be doing it, which is representing the seller. You're supposed to be selling that seller's home, and so many agents, especially those that are out there, they're told to do an open house because they can collect, they can pick up possible customers or clients, which is true. And there's no reason why you shouldn't eventually try that right after you have got to the point where you've represented that seller. I always tell everybody to pretend that seller's in the other room, which, by the way, they are, because over 63% are listening. So
or they have cameras.
They do. That's exactly what I'm talking about. They hear you, and if you feel they would be satisfied with what you said, then you're good to go. And if they feel you did, hey, look, you did everything you could, then go try to pick them up as buyers. And for everybody that's listening, yes, you should do an open house to eventually get to that point. But as long as you've done the first part, then I'm totally good with it.
I agree.
Good information.
Yeah. I totally agree, because you have to be open houses are good, and you have to be consistent with those as well. If you don't have any business, now if you're busy and you don't need to generate any new business based on that, you can spend that time doing something else. That's fine. But I think that open houses is for everyone. Plus, again, it goes back to vlogging, right? You get a chance to take the videos, walk around the property, tour the property, speak about the property. So you're selling the property through your social media for your client, and then in addition to that, you're also putting another area to your niche for people to ask you questions about the property, and if they looking to sell the property themselves. So
one thing I really like too about the open house really for a lot of you out there, it has so much of the agency involved in it. If you really think about what happens in an open house, it hits almost every single component of agency, from disclosure of representation to disclosure of agency. You're doing all these things, representation of client versus a customer. I never thought the open house would be one of the greatest learning tools for agency, but it really is. If you really want to understand agency, look what goes on in the open house. That'll really help you.
And practice makes perfect, right?
Absolutely.
So
do more and more.
Having people asking you questions, you get familiar with those questions.
That's actually a good comment too, to use the open house as a learning tool for you as to how to represent your people.
So volunteer in the office as a new agent to hold another agent's house open.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I love Robert's advice, remembering that you are there to hopefully sell that seller's property.
That's right.
But you will pick up buyers as well. I'm going to turn the table a little bit and bring up a subject that maybe they don't agree on. I don't know, because they don't know the answer to this either. But Robert has a very unusual approach to bringing in agents, in that he highly accepts part-time agents. And I've always admired that, because there are very fine people that say, Champion School of Real Estate, in the classroom, can I go part-time with this career? And we always say, well, interview until you find a company that accepts part-time people.
Yeah.
Well, Robert's company specializes.
We do. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Look, it's something I hold very personally dear to my heart, because that's how I got here. You know, I mentioned earlier that I kind of was pushed into real estate, and I say that positively. I do, but it got to where I really I needed a job. I could not support, I was coming off of a very decent career, and I could not support my family. For me, there are a lot of you who are superstars that are immediate, and that's fantastic. I wasn't one of those. It took me longer. I needed something to grow my business. It really, I felt, took me a couple years before I could kind of venture out on my own. I mimicked my firm off of that same experience. I realized that a lot of other people fit that niche, that a lot of people weren't necessarily welcoming of it, which that's fine. If a brokerage tells you that they support full-timers, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's just, this opportunity is out there for a lot of people.
Niche.
It is, and I found it to be a very special one, because so many people found that maybe some of the brokerages were not wanting you to be part-time, whereas I absolutely wanted to. And, you know, anytime anybody tells you, if they say you couldn't do part-time, and then how am I here then? How did I get here if you can't do part-time? That's not necessarily true. Everybody doesn't follow the same route. So choose the route that's best for you when it comes to it. But I absolutely love the part-time agent. I mean, one of my favorites.
And that's a little bit unusual to have a broker that actively recruits the part-time person, obviously, as well as the full-time person. What are your thoughts on part-time?
I'm open to it as well. I enjoy part-time agents.
Okay, so you are exactly on.
We are. And you know, the thing is because I understand someone wanting to have a vision that's bigger than their current circumstances. Yeah. And I realize through the life that real estate has provided me with that it can change your circumstances. And so as long as you are teachable and coachable, I can teach you how to do this business at a high level and be successful at it. And so I'm always open to part-time agents, because I remember my very first part-time agent that literally left our company and started her own business. She came in as a teacher, and she was making about, and I'll give this quick example, she was making about $45,000 a year as an educator. She came in, after 2 years with us, she got that 45 to 80, and she quit teaching, became a full-time agent, and it's been her life.
I've told that story so many times. Teachers make great real estate agents. They do.
Real estate
and
agents.
That is my story.
Yeah.
That's why
she got here.
To me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was part-time while I was teaching, and made more money part-time, and said, let me take the leap over to full-time
Yeah.
Man,
So I love
Yeah.
part-time agents because I love the vision, the energy that come from you one-time freedom, right?
Mhm.
So that's a great thing about our
It
industry.
really boils down to it's about the person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you have another job that you need to continue while you're transitioning, but if you have the desire and you have the personal motivating factor
Yeah.
to get you through the classes, get you successfully licensed, and then you find time to do real estate,
Yeah.
it's really always about you.
It can be done. I love when we sponsor in the evening classes. I have so much respect for those people. They've worked all day, and they're coming in because they're trying to create an alternative lifestyle for them, or an alternative employment for them. And it can be done. It's not as difficult as most people think. Even in your first year, there's nothing wrong if you only sell a few houses. I would tell you the majority of the agents in the industry that sell a few quadruple or so in the second or third year. It just takes time.
It's time.
Yeah, you build that passion when you part-time.
That's right.
You got
I think they try harder to some extent. You do.
Think about it. So
I agree.
Now, Larry brought a couple of visuals, and the first one that I wanted him to show you is the wide or die.
Oh, yeah.
And talk about that one for a minute.
So this right here is a pen, and this pen signifies for me. So I don't want you to think that I'm just automatically self-motivated when I go out and network. I take the energy and the drive that I need. So Wide or Die is a pen that I keep in my pocket, or I may even put it on me at networking events for people to walk up to me. But it really motivates me in our industry. We're in the sales industry, we're in the people industry, and if you don't continue to build your business wide, and that means meeting new people, building new relationships, then your business is going to die. We use the term lead generate. It's the same thing, lead generate, but in my mind, I want to go wide. I want to meet new people each and every day so that my business will never die.
Now, what's the heart about?
So the heart is, I'm a gratitude guy. I believe in saying thank you and appreciating everything that has happened.
Awesome.
So I keep this in my pocket, and anytime I dig in my pocket and I rub it, just gives me an opportunity to say thank you for something that I've been blessed with or the opportunity that I received. So this is my
it's really
gratitude.
for
line.
you.
It is. This motivates me just to be appreciative, because I realize that I've been blessed to be a part of this industry. And the exposure that I've gotten from it. So it's always an opportunity just to say thank you throughout the day. So that's my gratitude.
And then you've authored 2 books.
I have.
And please go ahead and
Okay.
tell them the name of it. And
So this one is
them the
Empowering the
beautiful
Entrepreneur in You.
It is a good cover. I love it.
I think I look pretty sharp on
I
that too.
you do, man. I can't pull it off. Look, mine would be more like this.
And so this first book was what I found while myself and my business partner, Mr. Davis, were coaching and training up our agents, is that if you don't come from a sales or self-motivating background, it's very difficult for you to get up and want to get at it. And so this book has tons of quotes, motivational quotes from everyone that I thought of as Zig Ziglar, Muhammad Ali, Tupac Shakur, just things that they said that really get you motivated, figuring out that you can work in this entrepreneur space, and even just keeping your kids, your family positive on a daily basis.
I love it.
we have an instructor that has a book, Randy Smith, and it's a beautiful book with quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And what I also love, and maybe you do the same, is his signature line. He'll do a quote for the day, which is always inspiring.
Yes.
So and it's amazing. So as I go through my Instagram, and what I do on that is I'll put a good quote, and then I will put something funny, because people love humor, and then I'll put something interesting about myself for that day, or about the company for that day.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Those are my 3 posts every day.
Very motivational, very positive. Good job. Yeah. So we talk about marketing, we talk about how to grow our business, and Robert's correct. Most new people coming into the business, they don't jump into the business the first year and have 22 closings like our student from the Katy area that I interviewed a year ago, Jennifer Hansen. She had 22 closings first 12 months.
It's incredible.
I'm like, holy
I don't know how. I mean, honestly.
But that's frankly a little unusual.
It is. It is.
And yet, once people get into real estate, they typically say, gosh, I wish I'd only done it sooner.
Absolutely.
So how do you confer, how do you conference that new person when they're in the business new and they say, well, I have bills to pay. How soon can I expect to make money? How do you conference with them to say, don't get down, give yourself time? What do you do to keep your new people up?
Well, my guys will tell you, I preach expectations all the time. If you set the expectations to them, it will help them to encourage them. I think one of the toughest things that happens out there is someone's told that they'll make all this money, or they're told that they'll sell all these houses, and they get to month 6, and they've sold one house, and nobody's in the pipeline, and they get discouraged and they quit. And you know, for anybody out there, that's like the absolute worst thing you can do. This is a long-term project. I would tell you almost a majority of my 6-figure agents over the years, I would tell you most of them sold less than 5 houses their first year, but their second and their third years, much greater volumes, and that's the key, getting to the second year. So I think you really have to stick with it. There should never be any discouraging facts that you've only sold 1 or 2 houses. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there are so many people I meet with 6 months later, they're like, well, I've only sold 1 house. I'm like, that's fantastic.
That's the norm.
Yeah, it's more than I sold the first 6 months too. So
now,
I think it makes a difference.
do each of you do business plans with your agents? Do you encourage them to do a business plan?
Larry, do you want to go? I'll tell mine first, but I'll talk first.
I do. We map out a plan. We map out what their vision is, if they're based on time freedom, if it's based on income, if it's based on them wanting to just provide a service and extra income for them, then we base it off of that. So we do what's considered a business plan with them.
I think it's important for them to have their goals laid out.
They have to.
So that we have a plan to know how we're hitting our goals. How do you...
I utilize it in my training. I don't necessarily have the plan in place, but I have certain steps that I want them to take that achieve the same goals. Now, the only thing that I think is better about the business plan is it's something you can come back and be accountable with them. But like a lot of mine, because they are part-time, it's very hard for them to set a very strong goal to where they're going to be. So we kind of let it a little bit more open, but we still have the same expectations set in there to make sure they grow to the level that they need to.
Now, Robert, you have multiple offices.
Yes.
And how did that come about?
Pure common sense. I mean, the fact that we were able to replicate something in Dallas-Fort Worth, there was no reason why we couldn't expand into Central Texas and into the Austin area. I actually wish I was already down in Houston, but I slowly, take this growth. I mean, my firm is at, I want to say 12 years now, and honestly, I don't think that's the longest of times to not be in Houston yet. So I think I'm still evolving and still growing.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I take on markets at a time, but I like to make sure I can do well in one market before I move to the next. So, but we've been very pleased with Austin, and it's really not that much more difficult than running Dallas-Fort Worth.
I remember the first expansion I made with Champion School of Real Estate. It was going from my office in the north to the Galleria area in Houston, and then going over to San Antonio. Honestly, had I not had the president of our company, Kimberly, say, well, I'll move over and I'll get it going, and taking that first leap of faith out of town, and then after that it was easy to continue moving into different metros. And
that's exactly what I did. One of my guys that worked with me years ago, he had moved down to Austin, and he had already done a lot of business down here, and I had a lot of trust in him. Jim's done, fabulous for me down in Austin, but it was easy to do that because he knew everything that I had already done, and now he's down here, so it's easy for him to implement what we already do in Dallas. So I did the very same way.
Yeah, and then 7 campuses later, and then
that's incredible.
Our studios and our online is just very, very robust, and we're so thankful for our students.
Amazing.
So, do you want to expand, Larry? Do you have other offices? What are your feelings about that?
No, I think it's great. I think that's the way that it's done nowadays. Because we were speaking about the number of agents and how you decide if you're going to actually expand into other markets and things like that. So, yes, we do plan on one day doing it. We've just been having so much fun with kind of just living life and the responsibility of our area and the few agents that we have.
Well, you're fortunate though, because honestly, I mean, if you put Austin and Dallas together, really you have Houston. So you're probably at the same
I was going to say Houston is as big as a state.
Yeah, I mean, so I really think you already are growing inside
because we just hadn't felt the pressure. It was just as long as we hit our goals and our agency hitting their goals. But dude, that is something that we've desired, that we've put out there before, and I think that just as our family has grown, we've kind of just taken a step back here or there. But it's most definitely just listening to the way that you designed it. I think that's something we want to do.
I always enjoy asking this question of longtime professionals in the business because it's an ongoing question that comes up by experienced agents, and I feel like new people need to know your answer as well. And the question is, have you reached a point in your career where as an independent contractor, an entrepreneur that doesn't get a regular paycheck, have you reached the point in your career where you don't worry that yes, you know there will be money coming next month and next 2 months and down the line to pay bills? Are you able to get rid of that worry? How do you hit that number one major fear of being an entrepreneur?
It just comes with time, and you do get. There's no doubt the first 5 years you're trying to track. You're like, I hope that this sustains. I think the hardest thing is not as you approach it. I think the toughest one is once you actually make the money you were hoping to make, that you're worried that it doesn't go down again and that it continues. And real estate is cyclical. It always goes up and down, but in the end, it's a very stable environment, especially in the state of Texas, one of the most stable markets in the country. So for me, I've had years where I've gone up and down, but I would say after my 4th or 5th year, I really never had any concerns after that. I think those first 3, you're developing where you're going to end up being at. Yeah. But after that, I think one thing that was very encouraging to me. Let's see, in 2008, when the market really crashed, I actually was up. And for me, that was very motivating for me. I was like, that should never be a problem again. If I can make it through that, I should be able to make it through anything.
Down cycles can give you a lot of good feeling so that when the market's up, we all feel good. But when it goes down, once you've made it through a down cycle, it gives you that strength to know if it cycles down again, we're okay.
It gave me, in fact, I'm pretty sure that's when I opened my firm right after that, because it did give me the ultimate confidence. I'm like, if I can get past that, I can get past anything.
Yeah, and that was kind of, when me and Michael partnered up was in 2008, right after everything. I had opened up my own company. It was called Brooks Store Properties. And the market fell out. And then me and Mike had already had a relationship because we networked together a lot. We talked about our businesses a lot. And so he came over to the space that I was occupying, and we spent a year together getting to know each other. And then after that, the last 11 years, we've been together as Brooks and Davis. And for us, I totally agree. If you go through a down market with someone and you successfully stay in that business full time, there's nothing that's going to get in your way. And for me, yes, I'm at a comfort level to where I don't worry about if I'm going to be able to pay my bills. Real estate is good.
That's a distant memory years later.
Yeah.
I was telling Larry, I never see the other side of his partnership. I know he's out there. And I'm wondering, did you sit down together and decide that you would be the visible one and he would sort of be behind the scenes? Or did it just happen
I think
over time?
Actually, that we did. We did. And part of it was that I'd always been, because of athletics and just being a volunteer, I love volunteering and giving time and energy. And so it just seemed like a natural fit that I would go out and do more of the being out and being more visible. Plus, my business partner, he has 3 kids. He loves being he's the PTO president. He's the baseball coach. He loves those things about his life. He loves not answering his phone. Yeah, so he loves not having to answer his phone on Sundays and Saturdays if he chooses not to. And so for us, it's a perfect fit. That's what has allowed us to grow.
Now, is your wife, Dina, involved in your business?
She is, absolutely. She knows every bit of what we do. I'm very fortunate that our administrative manager is my mother-in-law, and she does an outstanding job. She's been a professional admin manager, for most of her career, and I was very fortunate to be able to get that. And Dina really trained her to be where she's at, and Dina is the major backup to her. That if she has questions, she ends up answering for her versus having to go through me, which saves me a great amount of time. Having delegating to other people is really been a help. As we crossed, at 180 agents, when we crossed 100 agents, that became very difficult. And they've been the greatest help. So yeah, they are really one of the backsides of how we are able to operate at Small World Realty.
Now, I always like to end our interview by saying, looking back, when you started in your career, and yet having all of your wonderful years of experience that you have today, what advice would you have given your younger self back when you first started that might as well help our new people watching today? Something maybe you might have done differently.
One of the things I think I would have done differently, I didn't have a mentor when I first joined. I had visions. I've seen people be successful, but no one that I could tangibly ask a lot of detailed questions to. So I would really either join a team and really understand how this industry works, so you're learning faster, so you'll get to your goals faster. Or I would get a mentor that's going to pour into me. And that may mean that you're paying for this mentor or this coach, or it may mean that you have a broker that's like, hey, I'm your partner. Don't look at me as just a subordinate, but I'm your partner. Whatever you do, whatever questions, I'll answer those for you. And it really leads back to, again, just getting active and being consistent, because although you may go out to a networking event and not know the answer to the question, just say, hey, you know what, our market is continually changing. Let me ask my business partner and give you some feedback.
I really have had some concerns with you. I mean, that's exactly, I tell all the guys, I go, you're always just a step away. I go, don't ever try to sugarcoat it or not. If you don't know the answer, just say, hey, let me get back to you. I go, let me give you about 5 minutes or so. And they're always 5 minutes away.
I always did that.
Yes, I love that.
Reason to contact that person also.
Exactly,
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love that's exactly what I did. I did the broker partnership with them. I basically told them that, my guys know that I'm accessible 24/7. I try to become the ultimate mentor for them because I didn't want them to have any middle people. I have opened myself up for all my agents. Literally, they call me at 11:30, 12 at midnight. I mean, I get all these
you're out
calls.
smoking.
Well, that's a lot of truth. A lot of time. It's very good to get me in the mid or early morning hours there. So I wanted them to be extremely comfortable. I always tell everybody that I'm not the typical type of broker. I try to be very genuine to them. I'm very proud of the fact that all my agents would consider themselves to be friends of mine, and I think that encourages them to call me late at night, and I felt that was the most comforting thing for them, just to have someone there for them, so they were never scared.
So they know you're there for them.
Yeah, I would. You asked what would I go back and tell my other self? I'd be like, do not be afraid of this. There's no reason. If you have the right people in place that are above you, they should be able to help you through anything that you do.
Because you don't want even when you say that, you don't want your agents stressing over something.
They should never stress.
Nothing.
No.
Pick up that phone, call me, let me walk you through.
In fact, I tell my guys that. I'm like, I don't want you to worry about anything. Just call me and I'll take care of it.
It's a great attitude.
The exact same thing.
Excellent. What a wonderful interview we've had today. Larry Brooks and Davis. We so appreciate having you here today.
Thank you.
You are a true gentleman and very knowledgeable. Robert Mesh. I am so happy to call you friend and instructor, Small World Realty in the DFW area. And again, what an honor that our new students, our experienced agents were able to hear these two gentlemen that have made this their full-time career. Obviously very successful. I couldn't be more personally proud for your successes.
Thank you.
And speaking of books, Larry, my book, Successful Tendencies of Real Estate Champions, will be out in May.
Awesome.
I have a number of champions where we have interviewed them. They're going to be telling you their secrets to success. And it's only $14.95 when it's out. It'll be on our website. I know you will enjoy it. It kicks off with my story in the first chapter of starting out in education, then real estate brokerage in Texas, and growing Champion School of Real Estate to be the largest real estate school in the nation. And I'm very, very proud of that, but it's more about just how to be an entrepreneur.
That's right.
And then for those of you that are new, I have 30 Days to Success every day. It tells you what to do during the day in order to have business at the end of 30 days. At the end of 30 days, go start over again. I know you will have business.
So let me plug one thing.
Please plug.
You had one that was when I went through school here,
Uh-huh.
and I got it.
That was
And I
probably
did.
30 days.
It was 30 days.
Yeah.
I got it, and I used the system that you had.
That's a great book.
Yes, it's a great book.
Thank you, Larry
Mhm.
Brooks. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And then, of course, we have our course calendar catalog that has everything in it by date on real estate, loan, appraisal, inspection, business etiquette. Whether you take the classes in the classroom, virtual classroom, or online, Champion School of Real Estate's goal is to help you be successful, just like these two fine gentlemen today. Larry, Robert, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
And
Thank you so much for having us.
we are so proud that you're champions.
No, thank you very much for having us today.
We do. We
Have
appreciate
a
you.
great rest of your future in real estate.
Thank you so much.
Yes.